Okay, so the first thing is to write the method of how you perform the literature review. And how you actually perform the literature review in a thesis is that is kind of a semi-structured approach. Like some articles, you already have them from before, or your supervisor gives you suggestions, and then you also have to perform like a very formal and structured review. So that is basically what is shown in here in this Prisma. It is actually kind of a methodology to show how to do literature reviews. I can send you the reference to this Prisma thing, and this is kind of like a revised version of the Prisma. But basically, you start with that. You show that you have a certain number of papers that you maybe had previously from previous courses. Maybe supervisor showed you these papers, also maybe another student, I don't know. So this is like an unstructured way or informal way, if you want to call it like that, on getting these 20 papers. But then at the same level, you also have to conduct a formal review. You have to conduct the formal review by using specific keywords in a search engine. It's usually Scopus or Web of Science or something like that. And then you also set the time frame, and you usually talk about, like in one paragraph or two, about how you did this very formal and structured search. So probably you will end up with, let's say 50, is just made up numbers. So you start with 20 from your courses and suggestions, and then 50 that using keywords. That's what you have to show in the text. Which keywords, why these keywords are important, who has also used these keywords, or maybe there are keywords from the articles in here, or maybe it's very clear, like if you want to study family firms, of course, family firms is going to be on the search. Then which search engine and why? Maybe it's Scopus, and you can highlight that Scopus is a clear benchmark for good quality, blah. And time frame as well, like maybe you want to limit the time frame, like maybe only studies from 2000 until 2022. Maybe that's also a possibility, but you also have to justify why, so be careful. So after that, maybe you will finish with a sample of 70 papers, and then from there, you will probably have to subtract a few. Maybe from this mix, there are some repetition, like maybe there are some duplicates, like you search for family firms and auditing, and maybe some of the papers that you get in here, you already have them from the suggestions. So then you will take them out, these duplicates. So that's one way to throw some papers. Maybe you took out 10 from duplicates. Another thing is that when you actually take a look at the articles, this sample, after this quick search and this, maybe you realize that when you actually read the abstract, you have to be very transparent, show why, when and how and why did you decide to drop some. So maybe when you actually read the abstract or the introduction, you realize that the focus is not really family firms. Like maybe it was a word around the paper, and that's why it appeared in here, but in reality it's not family firms. So maybe you can drop it because it's not really the focus. So you can drop other 10, maybe that just became numbers. And finally, about the quality, it's always very important as well that even though you maybe use Scopus as your search engine or Web of Science, which that gives you some quality, you also need to show and demonstrate that the articles that you're reviewing are published in very good qualities, in journals of very good quality. So you also need to check one by one if these 50 articles belong to good journals. And how to do that, there is another video that you have in the resources. It's called how to check the quality of articles or journals, something like that. So it's kind of some manual job checking if the journal belongs to this ABS list, which is a good quality list that you can use. And then in the end, when you finish this, it will be extremely good and powerful that your literature review is built from very good quality journals, and also that you follow a kind of a mixed approach between kind of an informal way of doing it or structure and a very formal way. So this like bringing the best of two worlds and also having this quality filter. That's a great thing to do. If you will be surprised of how many articles are published without this quality and transparency, and that's, I think, something quite bad for science. But anyway, you will finish maybe with 40 papers. And probably at this point of your thesis, these 40 papers are the papers that you will revise in this submission number 2. Because what happens then? So you do the submission, and probably after that, you will need to include other articles. And maybe, so this is what happens in here. After that, you get other. Now maybe it's adding up. Maybe you will, maybe I will give you some suggestions, or maybe you can also do something that is called ancestral search, which is basically checking which articles are cited in this article. So who did they cite? And maybe you can use that article as well with you, and then you can take it. And maybe the final sample will be 50, but this will be until the very end of your thesis. I think for your submission, it's okay if you reveal until here. So how did you access to the very first papers, maybe suggestions by me or your other professors, maybe course articles, then do the formal search and see how much you get and how many do you have. Also, it can be tricky because if you just use the keywords family, firms, and performance, you will probably get like 3,000 articles. So you have to be it's very tricky. It can take you like half an hour to reach like a healthy number, which is always around close to 50. It's a good number of articles. So you need to narrow it more, and then maybe you narrow it too much, and then you only have 2 papers. So then you open up a little bit more. So maybe family firms on sustainability performance, and then ESG, that can be another keyword. So think about how to do it. There is also another video on how to do the search. So I think that's this first part is very important that you have it. Then the next video I explain the body and the visual representation, which I think it can be done very quick in the video.